Welcome to February 2015's Coffee with Manitou session part 2. We start this video with Brian Hardy introducing the disaster recovery plan and ends with answering the question, how often should I back up my data?
Now, is this your disaster recovery plan? Pretty comical, right? While comical, we are surprised to hear of some worse data loss stories in the world today. If you're following the news at all, of course you can see that there's been a lot of data breaches and data loss, and all types of different scenarios is really on the rise. Actually, recent research numbers reveal that data loss is costing companies about $1.7 trillion per year. Of course, most companies understand the importance of backing up data. Without a sufficient backup strategy in place, data loss could set a business back days, weeks, or even months. So this leads us to the next logical question about the disaster recovery plan. How often should I back up my data? As many of you are already aware, there are a variety of backup rotation schemes that you can deploy at your central station. Choosing which one works best for your organization will differ, of course, from organization to organization. So researching them and finding which solution scheme will work best is paramount for your organizational success. Today, I will only touch the surface on each method and will not have the time, of course, to exhaust each one, only a light introduction to it. We will not endorse one over the other, but will simply introduce their practical methods. The first one that's worth mentioning is the first in, first out method. This is normally used to keep the longest possible tail of daily backups. It's normally used when archived backups are not as important or you'll need to go back several years. It's useful when data before the rotation period is irrelevant, and sometimes it's often mentioned as, FIFO or first in, first out backup scheme. It saves the new or the modified files onto the oldest media in the set. So performing a daily backup onto a set of 14 media, the backup depth would be 14 days. Each day, the oldest media would be inserted when performing the actual backup. Some would say that this is the simplest rotation scheme and usually the first one to come to mind. It was also the one that was commonly used when people regularly backed up to floppy disks. Yes, I said floppy disk. The next one that's worthy of mentioning is the grandfather, father, son, or the GFS. This is the most common rotation scheme for rotating backup media. A lot of our central stations might have this deployed now. Originally, this was designed for tape backups. It works well for any backup strategy, however. The basic method is to define 3 sets of backups, such as daily, weekly, and monthly. The daily or the son backups are rotated on a daily basis, with one graduating to a father status each week. So it goes from the daily to the week. The weekly or the father backups are rotated on a weekly basis, with one graduating to the grandfather status each month. That's your first in and first out. Just an introduction to it. The next one that I would like to mention is the incremental media method. Some call it the progressive backup or the incremental forever method. This requires a full backup on day one. Then only block level or file levels are sent to the backups each day. So when you look at a backup life cycle, for an example, let's say Monday through Friday. Monday you have a full backup of the data. Then on Tuesday, just the changes on Tuesday, plus the incremental changes on Wednesday, plus the incremental changes on Thursday, plus, of course, the incremental changes on Friday. So what you end up with is a much smaller backup every day, since it's taking those changes each day into account. Some would argue that the incremental online backups are the way to go because they take less time, they're more cost effective, and take up less space. But Again, these are just introductions to you. You choose what's best for your organization. The next one that's worthy of mentioning is the differential method. With the differential backup, you're using the same Monday through Friday scenario as I just mentioned. You still have a full backup of the database on Monday. Tuesday, you have a full backup plus the changes for that day. Wednesday, you do the same thing until you get to Friday. So on Friday, you have a full backup plus the cumulative changes for Monday through Friday. So if you had to restore the data with this method, you would have less tapes to manage. Say you have 2 tapes. One of the tapes will be for all of the week changes, and the second tape could be for the entire backup of the database. So for time's sake, I will not cover again all of the backup methods here. However, there are a couple of honorable mentions. The Tower of Hanoi and weighted random distribution, just to name a few. As always, speak to your IT professional for more detailed information, and if we can help in any Manitou-related way, we would be glad to do so.
This concludes Part 2 of the Coffee with Manitou session from February 18th, 2015. Register for next month's Coffee with Manitou session at boldgroup.com and check out any upcoming videos on our YouTube page. For more information, contact your account manager today at sales@boldgroup.com.